ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸੋ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੀ ਆ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਓਵਰ ਦ ਲਾਸਟ 10 years ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ 10 ਸਾਲ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਚਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਸੋ as a result of that we invited many of the people involved in those organizations here today as a celebration, as a look back and kind of to strategize our way forward. So ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ you can see that the Singh was saying in the video that we're still going to be here in 10 years. Maharaj di kripa naal, many of those things are still here and still doing this. Sevak ki odk nibhi preet. Nibhi means to maintain. Sevak ki odk nibhi preet. Apni preet, apni seva nib sakdi a jad ਆਪਾਂ ਸੱਚੇ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨਾਜ਼ਰ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਦੇ ਯੋਗ ਆ these nojawans who have actually kind of enshrined that in their hearts that this seva is going to nib, it's going to last, it's going to remain. So some of the issues that were touched upon in that video, we're just going to talk about them a little bit. So and kind of the more on a positive note, the kind of progression that we've made over 10 years. So take it from the grooming cases. Yeah, we had the case of Mughal Darbar and many other cases of things having to do hard time as a result of the grooming issues not being taken seriously. We've moved forward in a professional capacity, engaging with groups that are also facing this issue, engaging with kind of charitable organizations and think tank groups that advise the government to get our voice heard further. The Maryada issues that Deepa Singh touched upon, on all these issues, at the time, it was looked upon as thuggish and street behavior, as what, why are they taking this into their own hands? The Guru, Sevak ki odk nibhi preet, Jeevat Sahib sevyo apna, chalte ura kyo cheet. Maharaj di kripa naal, those issues now are being taken forward in a complete different manner. So take the commodification of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. We've got committees set up, we've got council set up seriously, and many of the Sikhs here are feeding into that protocol and designing that protocol. The committees who were kind of okaying this and commodifying Guru Granth Sahib Ji have been replaced by panthic, Nojwan, Amritari Singhs and Singhaniya. So we've come a long way, and that's with the seva of everybody and the kirpa of Guru Sahib. So one of the issues that we're going to touch upon is going to be the one of grooming, and that's something that Deepa Singh has taken forward himself individually. So over to Deepa Singh to talk about that issue, how we've moved forward on that, and what's still left to be done.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So thank you all for coming, and obviously just watching our little background of 10 years of memories. It's not a lot, it's what we could squeeze in 10 minutes, and obviously there's a lot more to it, but we've only just put a brief there so you can all see. So much more goes on behind the scenes which you wouldn't see. Like this weekend, for example, Sri Akhand Sahib, within a week we've set up an exhibition and a project, the conference, the Kirtan Smagam last night, and tomorrow's Smagam as well. So much goes in just to one weekend sometimes, and that's called prachar, innit? So there's so much prachar that goes on throughout the weekend at our events, be it not just the Akhand Sahib, be it our annual Shidi football tournament. We always do prachar at these events. Prachar is the main focal point of pushing our panthic narrative within the Sangat, and that's the main thing we have to. These issues aren't going to go away, and that's why the main thing that we're going to discuss, well, I'm going to touch on today, is the grooming. I don't want to go on too much to the others because there's plenty of speakers here on their way to discuss those. What I'd like to stick to is the grooming issue. And as we know, for the countless, if you see that exhibition outside, we've got cases back to the 60s. And this is an ongoing historical issue. I've got a speaker with me today. She works alongside us. She's a social worker. She helps us with some of our cases and gives a professional opinion as well. So I'd like to bring Anita in on some of the work that goes on behind the scenes and some of the challenges she'll face within the system when she sees Sikh girls come into care as well. Yeah. So if you just want to do a bit of update on what you think that the challenges you've seen of young Sikh girls in care or coming in social care.
I think the main problem that we face with children's as a social worker in children's services is the understanding and the culture. So obviously social services don't understand the whole background around Sikh culture, how families manage things. It's a lot different to sort of how maybe a child from a white family would manage things. So is quite different.
And so some of the system that we're up against, I just want to put it, like when we're seeing girls going to care, last week we had an example of a 12-year-old girl. On the 5th day, I had a call. When we had the call on the 5th day that she's been missing for 5 nights, and this is in Birmingham, we had to go and set up a meeting with the family. We set up a meeting with the family, and we spoke to them. And it was only once then that I got the parent to speak to the police. And this is just one example I'm going to give you out of the challenges we face when we're facing the system within grooming of Sikh girls. When the girls in care, the first 24 hours is the most crucial. And why has it taken 5 days for the family even to reach out to a community organisation, the most proactive on the ground? I don't know, because it's taboo. And these are the issues that they're scared for their daughter's pictures to go online, but the police have already put them out. These are some of the challenges that we're facing, the stigmas in the community. So on the 5th night, I've spoken to the mum with the family there and some of our sevadars, and we've got her to speak to the police. The police have come on, we've listened to the call, and I'm astonished that how they're speaking to that mother.
If I can just add a bit of context. So basically the child went missing on the Tuesday. Police, from our knowledge, didn't actually do anything. There wasn't anyone actively looking for this child. This child was pretty high risk, 12 years old, and I found out on the Saturday, and then I contacted Deepa. Deepa came down from London straight away. We set up a meeting to meet with the family, with the parents. The mum, we actually asked the mum to call the police while we were with her. She called the police, and the police officer was saying that there's only 3 officers on, and there's another high-profile case, and they've gone to look for that child. So then I asked the mum to ask, why is that child priority above this one? The police officer didn't really have an answer, did he? No. It was almost like he was half asleep. And then I asked for the person to the mum to hand over the phone to Deepa. And as soon as Deepa started talking, it was like the officer kind of woke up.
Yeah, he changed his tone completely.
Yeah, it's like he probably sat up, and he just panicked, didn't he, the way that he was speaking. And we actually got some sort of sense out of him. And by that night, after Deepa had a bit of not a go at him, but made him realise that they should be doing something. We've got a missing girl, 12 years old. Nobody's been looking for her since Tuesday. They sent police officers out that night, didn't they?
Yeah, within 24 hours.
Yeah, not within 4 or 5 hours they were out.
Yeah,
but prior to that, nobody had been out since Tuesday.
And no, she was found within 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, she was found within 24 hours after that. But it's almost like if we don't put pressure on them as a community, if we're not seen to be doing anything, the police aren't going to do anything.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing. So that's just one example. What happens with families is the authorities and the system just think it's the family, but when there's a community pressure and there's a two-tier approach, it's very vital and important, and that's what nobody really gets. And that's what we were doing. So last week was very important, but within 24 hours, she was located and found safe and sound. And but then you got more challenges, and it takes ongoing work sometimes. So,
but I think it was the help of social media. So
yeah,
you
definitely.
guys posted it on your page, Sikh Channel put it up.
Yeah.
And then she was found. So it's literally the power of social media and family and friends and everybody. Literally, we had to send it out to so many influencers. Everybody shared it, and she was found the next day.
Yeah, it's very important pressure and community pressure. But just the challenges, like I'm saying, these are one of the main challenges we're facing with the grooming epidemic, that the system are failing many of our kids, and our kids are just ending up in the hands of perpetrators and gangs that are exploiting them, trafficking them across the line. There's this word, and you see it on the graffiti out there, it's called county lines, and everyone's throwing that around willy-nilly, like they know what that means. And that county lines is a dangerous sort of part of grooming gangs to be caught up in. And these are some of the behaviour issues that we're seeing of this 12-year-old girl that are being caught up. And, she's not being prioritised. And that's just one example I've given you. If we go over some of the work, there's positives as well. It's not just negatives like we're talking about. Like, there was another case that we worked on a few years ago.
That was about 2018.
Yeah, a good few years ago. Yeah. And now that girl's at university and she's doing well. So don't think that everything's, gloomy out there. There is hope if the families and the victims are listening. And that's the main thing. It's about listening and listening to the direction that you've been given.
And the thing is, it can happen to anybody's daughter or son. It's not just girls, it's boys as well. So, I think the first case we worked on, the girl was regularly at the Gurdwara, and she was actually a Singhani, and she was groomed. And then this girl we're talking about now isn't. So it literally could be anyone. And as a community, we all need to kind of work together, look out for things and not assume that everything's okay. As a family members, we need to be having them conversations with our children. Because we were having the conversation with that mom the other day, it was really hard to kind of explain to a mom, I know you explained what grooming was, but really getting into detail
Process.
of what is actually grooming, what's happening for that child. Like it's serious.
Some
County
parents
lines are
don't
serious.
process it.
Yeah, and being from a, you know, like a Sikh family, they don't want to hear what's happened to their daughter, their sons. They don't want to hear that they're actually being physically, sexually abused.
It's
they
important,
don't want to hear it, and a lot of
it's
it is
about
hiding.
hiding. These are the taboos that we're facing, but it's understanding the actual issue is not what the system have told you. And again, we played a documentary earlier, the Battle of Amritsar. It's a narrative of our side, but we need to understand that this is our issue, and we need to understand that the narrative that's being pushed upon us, these training courses and safeguarding courses, they're only made and they only look to train people for young white males or females. It's not for the Sikh community. We need to implement our culture, our religion, and understand our cultural and family dynamics are slightly different.
And I think the stigma within like Asian communities is quite bad. Like the case we had last week, the parents and family didn't want to put the girl's picture out, and then we were saying, okay, either we put the picture out and do an appeal, or this child will end up dead. We won't find her. And it is as bad as that. I know it sounds extreme, but that is exactly what happens.
But we have found missing, when we've been looking for missing people, there's, on 2 occasions from us, they've been found dead. You know, there was a one young lad in Birmingham called Dharanbir. He was found dead in Aston, lying there without his dastar and his car parked somewhere else. There's another lad at the first week of COVID. When that kicked in, we were looking for him and he was found in the Thames. So it's not when we're going out there, it's not an easy thing to see and how to control some of the families. So, you know, the first 24 hours is crucial, that's what I'd say.
I think a lot of our families are too worried about, oh my God, if we put the picture out, this person will find out, oh, in the future, how will they get married? But I think the priority should be the child.
Yeah, and getting them away from the perpetrators, that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Intervene. So there's a lot to it, but that's just a few, and I wanted to bring Anita in on that, because from a professional aspect, you'll see that we just don't work on the ground head on. We've got professionals on side who are supporting as well at the same time.
So thank you to Benji, who's been dealing with many issues. So like Deepa said, is for me the last 10 years of reflection is the intensification of how we're dealing with things. Not just a kind of pure groundwork, but more kind of in a professional capacity. So the reality is that many of our community are dur from Sikhi, from the values enshrined in us by the gurus, by kind of the beautiful parts of the Punjabi culture. That's kind of been forgotten, especially by the younger generations, and that's a challenge. And that's something, Prachar side is something that we've been looking to do across organisations for many years, and that's been the highlight of the last 10 years also. So I'd like to actually bring in Bhavinder Singh, who runs Seek to Inspire, to talk about the last kind of 10 years in terms of Prachar, camps, helping out in Smedic Gurdwara. So Paisov actually helps run the Smedic Gurdwara, which is one of the largest Gurdwara in the UK. And what he's seen and kind of where our focus should be going into the next years and so on.
The biggest issue I'm having now, or our community is having now, is our Gurdwara are starting to become quite empty. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I was hoping to sit down actually. Deepa and his team have done an amazing job over the last 10 years. We've all seen that. Just watching that video as well, reflecting back on some of the stuff that went on over the last 10 years and the struggles that we had. And the biggest struggle within our own community was our Siane, was trying to kind of get them to understand what the issues are. And the biggest change I've seen in the last 10 years with Prachar, society's changed as well. The way we interact with each other, social media, platforms are changing. They're always changing all the time. Media's changing, technology's changing. The way we need to communicate always needs to be up to date, and the way we secure or promote what our community needs. There's a lot more, I would say, young people engaged in doing positive activities, trying to get that message out as well. Just this week, I work in a college. And this week, over the last couple of years, I've been trying to get students. As a staff member, I can't actually set like a Sikh society up, so I've been trying to get students to set it up. And this week, some students got together and set a Sikh society up in the college I work in, which is amazing because the young people that came, and there was about 20 of them, they were very, very engaged and they want to learn. But what's happening in the new generation is we always think, now I'm in a committee now at Guru Nanak Gurdwara Smadhi, and we always think, yeah, we know what the next generation needs. It's like the Siane that were in the Gurdwara previously, yeah, we know what the Nojwan need, but they never gave it us, or they never listen to us. But when we get in there, we always think we know what the next generation needs. Now, someone that's sitting here now that's in their 20s isn't a carbon copy of me when I was 20. And I wasn't a carbon copy of the uncle who's 50 sitting in the committee. So that we always need to engage and understand. The biggest issue I'm having now, or our community is having now, is our Gurdwara are starting to become quite empty. There's a lot of Gurdwara around the country are very, very proactive. And the difference I see there is, like GNP here, it's a very, very active, there's a really, really good vibe here. Why? Because there's a change in management, or there's a change in the people trying to run activities, or trying to do the day-to-day running of a Gurdwara. Guru Nanak Gurdwara Smadhi may be similar as well. It's a massive hub. There's other Gurdwara in Smadhi, in Birmingham as well, like Papa Deep Singh Gurdwara, or other Gurdwara around in Birmingham. You've got Southall as well. Where there's younger generations involved in the Gurdwara, there's something positive happening. And the Gurdwara, as a community hub, is going to start dying out. I also, kind of a burden, or I also help book jathe around the country. There's loads of Dadi Jathe, Keetani Jathe. Manav Singh knows, he's a state secretary, how I do his heading as well by booking jathe here. But it's amazing to see when I ring Gurdwara around the country, the committee members, they say, well, there's no one here, no one comes. The only time we have Sangha coming is on a Sunday. And I actually do question the committee and say, well, so what are you doing to change that? So what are you putting in place? Which is amazing to see that at Gurdwara, some of these Guru Gurdwaras are massive Guru Gurdwaras, and they say to me, no one comes in the weekday. So what's the point? The biggest point that we had was, even when we used to, me and Dipa were, in a committee together as well, in Smedic as well, and I speak to quite a few Norjaman around the country. The biggest thing that we pushed when we were getting into Prachar was, the main reason we're doing Prachar is to join someone with the Guru, to start their own journey. Where's the Guru? Where do we meet the Guru daily in the Guru Ghat? So if we don't push people to go to the Guru Ghat, how are we going to build that relationship? There's so much good prachar that's happening in today's society, online, loads of videos that we can learn from. But the main purpose of that should be engage you to join with Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. But where are you going to join with Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj daily is in the Guru Ghat. So we need to go to the Guru Ghats. And if you want to see a change, we have to make that change. We always learn that. We're taught that if you want to make a change, you have to start. You have to make the change yourself. And at one time, we had a lot of sevadars at main asthans around the country. But what happens is, we get very disengaged very, very quickly when we see arguments at Gurdwara, we see that don't want to listen to us, we get negative views, and we feel, we're coming here to get close to Guru, we don't want to get involved in all these other politics. But sometimes we just have to deal with that stuff in a positive way. Yeah, even I'm probably one of my best friends at our Gurdwara, the Siane. Sometimes you got to realise that some people at the Siane aren't always because they've done a lot of good work. This Guru Ghat is standing because of the hard work our Siane did for us, our elders did for us. Otherwise, this wouldn't be here. This hub wouldn't be here for us to use. These platforms wouldn't be here if they didn't do their work. Sometimes they just need someone to listen to. The biggest respect we can give to someone in this world is actually sitting and listening to someone. So sometimes listen to them. If you listen to them, they show that respect back by listening to you guys as well. But I think biggest, in the next 10 years, I would like to see, because the Guru Ghats in this country, the committees are getting old. We need to join. Just starting with Seva in our Guru Ghats, going to our Guru Ghats, listening to the Prachar, getting involved in Langar di Seva, getting involved in other stuff. If there isn't a project running at your Gurdwara in your local areas, think about how we can start that. Yeah, how we can do something. It could be classes. Nearly every Gurdwara in this country has Punjabi schools. So there's a group there that we can utilise. There's kids or young people coming to Guru Ghats majority of Gurkhas in this country. So you've already got a group of young people we can engage already, you know? So we should do more projects. Just at this Gurukha, I know there's loads of sporting activities, there's loads of forums, there's stuff for Siane, there's stuff for Najwan. The same, I would say, at Guru Nanak Gurdwara Smedhi, we try to do a lot of prachar, Southall as well. But we need to use those models and implement it around the country, you know? Yeah. Even with, just example, Seek to Inspire, we do a camp every year. We know everybody in this country needs something, because in our camp we have people, and it's the same with a lot of camps these days, we have families that come with kids that are like 2-3-year-olds. We also have 80-90-year-olds coming to our camp, yeah, because people in this day and age are all missing something, which is that connection or sangat, and especially after COVID, yeah. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and for the seva that you've done, and in the future as well, if we can do as much seva as we can do, it's going to benefit the next generation. So, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you to Bhavinder Singh from Seek to Inspire, who's given their vichar. So, he's been very active, and his Sathi Jathebandiya vich to put prachar around the map, around the UK. So yeah, a big thank you to him. Inna di vi bahut hi anathak seva hai, so we welcome that. With regarding this point about how do we connect the youth to Sikhi, and what Benji was talking about in terms of a disconnect with our youth, what the next generation are facing. So we have issues of mental health, many other kind of issues. I'd like to bring in Bhai Jagjit Singh, who runs a parenting course as well, Sikh parenting course, and has been up and down the country doing prachar. And I'd like Bhai Sahib to particularly talk about what kind of issues he thinks our community is facing from a perspective of parenting, what the issues are from the kind of the generation of the children and the parents, because he has some first-hand experience on this. So Bhai Jagjit Singh to talk about this, please.
It was like a line going to Darbar Sahib from the UK of people just doing Simran sitting next to each other. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. A benti for everyone just to do Simran with me. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. A few years ago, I had a dream. Just seeing families, children, doing so much Simran. And it wasn't just like Gurdwara full of young people doing Simran. It was like a line going to Darbar Sahib from the UK of people just doing Simran sitting next to each other. And I was thinking, Maharaj, it'd be beautiful to physically see these things, you know? And then I was thinking, so many things happen in our Panth, so many things are always pulling us back. Sometimes we need to think, let's just put distractions to the side, let's just do something. And at that time, I'd been involved in doing talks in camps and running camps and children's camps. I saw that it's so easy to inspire people. It's so easy because Sikhi is so beautiful. I often say, Sikhi is very beautiful, sometimes Punjabi is complicated. And often we have to go back to the source of our Sikhi, which is Naam, Amrit Vela, Simran, Nimrta, Pyar. And what we need to find is that what I saw is often children get so inspired and then they go back home after the camps, and it's the parents, it's what they see in their houses that puts them off. It's the constant arguing. It's what we've gone through is immigrant experience, and so you have a lot of pressure on elder generation, and some of them being mentally able to handle it, and some of them are not, and so some of them collapse. And many of the issues that VG and Sikh Youth deal with is because some of these families collapse, And I thought we can keep solving the problems as they come along, but at some point we have to look at the source. What is the source? How can we change the source? How can we stop this happening for future families? You know? And then I look back at, I came into Sikhi at 17 years old, 18 years old. Many of the Gursikhs here, you know, I look around, many of us maybe didn't have our gears when we were young. You know? And so I feel that I maybe lost 17 years of my life. You know? And so how can we stop that? And just as Virji that just spoke, he said, you know, there's a lot of interest in Sikhi, I find, in young people. You know? It's only that we're not great at explaining it properly. And if we get better at explaining it properly, and especially if we go back to the beauty of the source of Sikhi, you know, there's amazing interests. And so I developed a Sikh parenting course because I thought if we can teach people how to create spiritual bhakti-yale environments for children from the age of 2 to 3, 4 or 5, they'll be amazing going forward. So there's a kahavat in our community, you know. This is a Punjabi kahavat. ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, when children are young, ਉਹ ਮौज ਮਸਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, which means they play. Elta ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, which means they play. Then when they get to their teenage years, ਉਹ ਮौज ਮਸਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, which means they go out pubbing, clubbing, doing other things that they do. When they get to 30-40 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, 30-40 years, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਾਰ ਪੈ ਗਿਆ, which means they've got the responsibilities now. They've got children, they've got parents to look after, they've got, you know, mortgages to pay. And when they go to 60 years old, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਭਣ ਨਾ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਆ. So they start coming to these gurdware, etc. They're sitting there as groups of old men. Many of the BBN do amazing seva in the langar halls and various parts of the gurdwara. But for many people, that's their time to Rabb nu labna. And there's another way. That's a cycle that's been created in our community, you know. There's another way. So let's design a different way. This is what the parenting course is about. Is that ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਐਲਤਾ ਕਰਨ ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਵੀ ਕਰਨ. When they get to 16, 17 years old, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੌਜ ਮਸਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ because they've already got 16, 17 years of bhakti inside of them. So already they developed the souls in them. That basically, ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੱਬਾਂ ਕਲੱਬਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਾ, ਮੈਂ ਰਹਿਤ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਆ. ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਰੈਤਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਸੁਧਾਰਨਾ ਆ. ਹਨਾ? When they get to 30-40 ਸਾਲ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਾਰ ਆ. You know, they got parents to look after, they got children to look after, but they can handle it because they don't come home and thinking, my wife's going to be arguing with me because Obi Simran Kanaliya. And she's not worried, oh, my husband's going to come home drunk and basically be beating me up or whatever because Obi Simran Kanaliya. Then when you get to 60 years old, ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਭਣ ਚੱਲੇ ਆ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਭ ਲਿਆ. Because you've got 50, 60 years of bhakti. You know? And it's because our Buzurgs maybe weren't like that. That's why it took us maybe 17 years to be inspired to come into Sikhi. But if we can create enough information for parents, because most of the people now, 10,000 people have done the Sikh parenting course. All my rest of 2023 is already booked. I'm already taking bookings for 2024, and they're around the world. There's so much interest in this. And it's a 7-hour course. You would think most people can't sit for 7 hours. I know, but people don't get up. I know, because all we're doing is giving them, you know, techniques. This worked for us. Maybe you should try this for you. This worked for us. Maybe you should try this for you. And people go away with a plan. You know? But what it is je sade buzurg sare Rabb nu lab le ale, you know, the ones that found God, we would have been doing Naam Simran from 1-2 years old. We wouldn't have had the experiences that we're having now. So it's about changing things from source. It's about helping people from source. So and I personally believe that as a Panth, we can all just take one Jimmevari on our shoulders and just try and bring some change in the Panth. And je assi sare koi na koi Jimmevari lende, je aa sade veer ithe baithi a, bhain ji baithi a, is because ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ realize ਕੀਤਾ, you can't wait for anyone. You can't wait for people to basically give you some kind of agya or something. We don't need agya from anyone. You know, Maharaj ne sanu ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ. You just got to go ahead and think, there's something that needs to be done in the Panth. Let me just go and do it. Panth ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੋਢਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਓ. ਹੈ ਨਾ? And sometimes what has it, tera panth vase, main ujra. Maybe there's nothing going to be left of me. And that's the whole thing. All of us, koi naam na jane mera. No one needs to know our names. No one needs to know who we are. All we need to know is that Panth should be strong. There's some Sikhs, when they die, oh Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru karde hunde a. And oh dargah chal jande a. But idan de Sikh bhi sade Panth de vich hege a, jo maran vele hai na, oh kende si, Panth, Panth, Panth. When they had their modde on the cannons and the cannons were blowing, and they knew if I put my modde on there, I'm going to die. But this shangarsh I'm going to do for the Panth. When they're going to do this, when they're... And the last words that came out of their mind, their mouths were Panth. They died for the Panth, and they come reborn in the Panth. So we all have to take these jimmewariyan. We can't keep waiting for other people. There's too many problems in our communities, too many problems in our society. Just look at your personal skill level. Look at what Maharaj has given you gone and just walk with it. Do ardas and just walk with it. And all of us collectively are like pieces of a jigsaw. One day when all our collective efforts come together, you're going to have the most amazing painting. You're going to have the most amazing picture. Because ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਇਕੱਠਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਆ and ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ doesn't matter if anyone knows who we are as long as that picture is beautiful because that picture is what your children are inheriting in their Sikhi. And now think about what kind of Sikhi are we giving future generations. When I came into Sikhi there was probably 3 or 4 things that divide us. Now I can think of about 12. So I look back and maybe in my generation maybe we weren't good at problem solving. Maybe we should have done better. So sanu aasya gyan di kere bacche a, they will do better than us. But I would love to see a Panth, just like that dream, where jithe bhi main dekhda I see beautiful children just doing Simran. It's a collective soch honi chahidi a. Not children where like Veerji and Benji think that I found this kid in a car park. I know one of our local Monday, I never met the bachara, but I heard he jumped off a thing. And this Munda, he was in this car thing, and he had 10,000 people following him on social media. And he committed suicide. And one of the things he said at the end, I feel lonely. Because your real friends are not there. Because if you have a Vaheguru's hand on your head, no Sikh is ever lonely. All you have to say is Vaheguru and Vaheguru's there for you. You could never be lonely. Loneliness should never happen. None of these things should happen for us. It's because the biggest problem we have on this earth is that we've forgotten Vaheguru. That's the biggest problem. That's where our anxiety, that's where our stress, that's where everything comes from, is because we don't do Saskara Simran, we don't do enough Simran. If we do Simran, then nothing can ever stop us. So my benti is that basically, all of us help each other, ek duje nu modda da modda deke, and pick your own things. The Veerjis and the Benjis here, they've picked their seva. Maharaj chardi kala bakshe enanu. Think about ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੀ seva ਆ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੀ ਦੇਣ ਆ. What are you going to leave? And at the end of whatever you've done, remember, koi naam na jane mera, sab akal di vadiyai. Veerji's also asked me to mention about the Bandi Singhs. What was happening now in Punjab is very, very important. Many Gursikhs have put a lot of effort into getting this humbler. Just like when we had the Kisan Morcha, basically these Gursikhs, they stopped mass genocide in our Panth because they took out Byanta, the person who was the architect of that mass genocide. This is a person that no one in Punjab voted for, and is when most of Punjab boycotted the election, he won by 6% of the vote, the lowest in world history, the Congress government, because everyone else boycotted the election. And he brought mass genocide, and many of our amazing Gursikhs of our Panth were shaheed by Byanta, KPS Gill, and the whole infrastructure that's happening. And these handful of Gursikhs, they did an operation to take him out, and they've been now in jails for 27, 30, 32 years, some of them. And so ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਹੰਬਲਾ ਮਾਰੀ ਕੇ, and then the other thing is ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਰਗਾਰੀ ਮੋਰਚੇ ਦਾ, because nothing should be more pavitra to us than the Sahib Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And lastly, Veerji Zakshi to mention about Punjabi students. Put your hands up here if you've got a business, any business, you employ people. If you employ people, my benti to you is if you can get the skilled worker list, get yourself a license. Get yourself a license. I've got my own care home, I employ up to 100 people. I got my license 2 years ago because I saw in Bradford the Singhs. I live in Yorkshire, in Wakefield, but in Bradford some of the Singhs said, look, there's all these Punjabi students that have come to Bradford, they're going to get groomed, and we need to do something about it. And I said, fine, send 4 or 5 over to me, I'll give them a house to live in. I had one of my houses free and I just gave them a job, and they were amazing. They do amazing work because Udmiya. And then I thought, I can't just leave these kids, let's get a license. And now I've given them a work permit for the next 4 or 5 years. Then at the end of that, they're going to get bukke. The government is using these students to get money for their universities. At the end of them universities, they're giving them PWS visas. These visas will give them 2 years in UK, and then they have to go back. They have no immigration rights in UK. So basically, they're taking their money from their lands, and basically it's to be invested in our universities. They're using them for labour for 2 years. And at the end of these 2 years, these Pajare have sent all their money, and we're talking thousands. And I was recently in Toronto, they were telling me 125,000 students. You know? That's the amount have come to Canada. Carl Said, if you've done, they've even got a documentary on it called Fifth Edge or something like that. And he's talking about it. Now, we've just been through the Kisan Morcha. So many Sikhs were killed in the Kisan Morcha. But what's happening now is these students are coming out, they're getting karja, loans on their lands. Adani, who was one of the key people behind taking the lands away, is buying shares in the banks. And so as these people come out, if they after 2 years have to go back, which most of them are going to be, otherwise they're going to be illegal here, or they're going to have to go back, them loans are still going to be on their heads, and they're going to take their lands away. If we really care about our Sikhi, the only reason there's langar in Darbar Sahib and all our Paath and Gurdwara is because we own lands in Punjab. And my grandfather, I remember him saying, every time we have harvest, 10% billa Gurdwara no. 10% Gurdwara no. Sare paase. That's where our langar, that's where all our Sikhi comes from. Beinti, follow Saving Punjab, never sell your land in Punjab or any part. And even if you are going to send it because you might have a family dispute, I know this happens in families, then buy land near the Takhts. Buy land in Amritsar. Buy land near Keskar Sahib. Buy land there. All them areas should always be controlled by Sikhs. Sikhs should own that land. Don't basically, and so help these students. They're in desperate situations. And just that little thing. And some of the students came to me when I said to them, I've got a sponsorship. They said, Baji, here's £5,000. I said, what's that for? And they goes, this is the rate. Rate chalda. I went logging on the website. I said, look, it's £199. I goes, I see Malik Bhaggo wale nahi kam karne. For those of you who don't know, Malik Bhaggo is when Guru Nanak Dev Ji basically had in one hand by Laloji's food, and Malik Bhaggo's on the other side, and blood came out by. This is what our Punjabi community is doing to our own Punjabi community. In Toronto, at this moment in time, they're charging students $60,000 for an employment letter. Billai bachare ragreya unan ho ragri jande hai. So if you've got a business, help these students. Basically, don't charge them more than the £199 that it is. It costs £2,000, or maybe if you use a vakil, if you do it by yourself, it probably won't cost you more than a couple £100 to get a license. Give these guys a job, pay them the wages that they deserve. Don't pay them crap wages. We all know what the minimum wage is, we all know what people are valued at, and just do that. Yeah, if you don't, sorry, I don't want to take any business away from any vakils here, but I just did the license myself. It's not difficult. You can go online, it will ask you registration of your company, it will ask you company numbers, it will ask you for 2 years accounts, and as long as you can provide a track record of your business, you will get a license within a couple of months. And you can just specify how many people you can employ. So I originally started with 4, I've now got 11, and every year I can employ 11 more people. you know. And so basically, many of these, you know, these people that are coming abroad, they're really good Gursikhs. You know, you have to understand, at the time where most of you guys are doing A-levels, you know, or just starting to go to university, these people are coming from another country, coming here with no house, nothing, and they're having to survive. I met one guy, that my Singni, she was just driving through Wakefield, and you don't really see Sikhs in Wakefield. There's only 5 Sikh families in Wakefield, you know. And she saw him, and she asked him, Baji, you know, the Star Allah, where are you from? He goes, I landed at Heathrow, and he goes, I need to get to Leeds, and I didn't know how to get here, so the taxi driver charged me £600 to bring me here. And he dropped him off at Wakefield. And I was like, that's your like month's rent. I know you could have just caught a train. But no one helps, no one's guiding these kids. You know? So we really have to think about it. This is a major issue that's happening in UK, and every year you've got many, many students coming. And many of them are Kuriya. You know? Because what happens is girls are more educated than boys. You know? And most of these girls are getting degrees, and they're coming here on MA degrees, master's degrees, etc. And so we have to help that. Otherwise, what you're going to find is, in a few years' time, Sikh Youth will be saying, look, we've got all these grooming cases, and they're Punjabi students. You know, one of the reasons we had the conversation was Baji already had a case. Was it Southall? You know? So really, we need to start thinking about it. You know? So I probably said too much. You know? And my binti, that hopefully this has been helpful. The Sikh parenting course, if you want it in your city, come and tell us. But it's not about Sikh parenting course, it's not about all of this stuff. It's all about you. It's about what are you going to do for the Panth? You know? What are you going to do? You know? And just think about it. Don't wait around for other people to give you something to do, or don't wait around for organisations to basically say, oh, do this, do that. I know Gurpreet Singh does Saving Punjab. These guys do this. Other Gursikhs here have made documentaries, and they're doing their seva. All of you just do what you can do. You know? And collectively, Maharaj itself. If you do ardas in front of Maharaj, there's nothing that can ever stop you in life. Pulchuk maaf karna. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa. Vaheguru ji ki fateh.
Vaheguru ji ka khalsa. Vaheguru ji ki fateh. Thank you to Bhai Jagjit Singh, who's been working in many fields, as Bhai Sahib's mentioned. So yeah, this is the reality of life that we often forget Sikhi until we get into a late kind of age. Guru Granth Sahib Ji di Vani explains this in many different ways. Pehle pyar laga thana dud, from when you're a bacha. Pehle pyar laga thana dud, duje maaye baap ki sud, tije bhaiya bhabi babe, चौथे प्यार उपन्नी खेड़, पंजवें खान पीन की तात, छेवें काम ना पुछे बात before it's too late, सातवें धन किया घर वास, आठवें क्रोध हुआ तन नास. So before till you get to your older age, and क्रोध, your kind of anger, your anguish, your irkha at other people kind of destroys you from the inside before it's completely too late. This is the kind of ninth, this is a 10-part of life as per described in Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Bani. Nove taule ubbe sa. In the ninth kind of stage, your hair is white. Ubbe sa, you're struggling to breathe, and before you know it is too late. Dasabe dada. In the end, you become the mud that you came from, the dirt. So this is a reality that we often forget Sikhi until we get into a late age. But like Bhai Sahib said, like Bhavinder Singh said, there's many opportunities to get involved in things, whether it's from a local level, a Gurdwara level, various organizations. There's so many organizations here and beyond doing great work. So please do try and get involved in that. So continuing with the theme of Prachar, and Jagjit Singh mentioned the Bandi Singh Adi Rahai, the Singhs that are actually inside for the case of 1995, the assassination of Chief Minister Byanta. There's a movement now in Punjab to free those things, the Bandi Singh Rahai Morcha, which is headed up by various organizations. Thankfully, other kind of leading organizations are also taking a role, the Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee. Whatever someone's motives are in driving this, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, which is we want ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਹਾਈ ਹੋਵੇ. So there's a movement in Punjab to kind of free those things. This is stemming off from Jidna Bhai Sahib ne kiya, of Byanta doing Qatl-e-Aam in Punjab, making many Singhs shaheed. So I'd like to bring Bhai Harvinder Singh from Naujwani to talk about the Shaheed Singhs the prachar that he's been doing, especially around the Khadku Singhs and the Khadku Sangharsh for the last kind of 10 years. So that prachar has also intensified. We've had the National Sikh Youth Federation make a fantastic documentary on the Battle of Amritsar. So over to Pai Sahib to give his vichar on how he feels the last 10 years have kind of gone and where we need to double down our efforts.
ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਜੁੜਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਾਤੇ ਕਹਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਫਰਸਟ ਅਪ ਕੰਗ੍ਰੈਚੁਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਤੇ ਵਧਾਈ ਹੋਵੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਯੂਥ ਯੂਕੇ ਦੇ ਸੇਵਾਦਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ for 10 years worth of service and seva and how much work they've been doing around the country and everything that they've been involved in. As previous two speakers already said, I think Barvinder said something that was quite key. There's a lot of different audiences that get reached through Prachar, and one of the key kind of audiences that has been reached by Sikh Youth UK is the audience that thinks things are taboo and not to talk about them. And one of the kind of leading lights out of their work has been that they've managed to make it everyday conversation for us to talk about different issues like grooming, like parenting that Sardar Jagjit Singh just spoke about, their course that they run. All of these are things that people didn't really want to talk about 10 years ago. And fortunately, technology has allowed us to be able to put these ideas across in a way that they weren't previously. And so now we can use social media, you can use big cinema screens to put things on, as well as talking in person all the time. And so that's been a big part of their kind of work and everything that they've done so successfully. So congratulations to them, and hopefully they will continue to do more of this work going forward, and there will be more of the Sangat that engages with not only them but all of the other organizations who are taking part in everything, and all of you who are here today from different organizations for that part. The specific element that they've just asked me to speak on the work that we do, certainly on Shaheed Singhs, on Prachar, not just of Shaheedi as a concept or Shaheed Singh specifically, but on the events that have taken place over our recent history and that are still taking place today, and things that we want to change. Our stance has always been, in the two different organizations that I'm involved in, has been to try and provide information and give direction and vision from which people can make their own decisions, can start to look at things and work out what it is. And that has proven to be quite successful for us, certainly, and other groups who've taken on that stand. My friend Shamsher Singh is here from National Sikh Youth Federation. They've done immense work in this front on the same kind of angle. Let's provide information that people didn't know existed before. And when they look at it and they see the detail, they draw their own conclusion, and they can see, well, what is the state of our life? Where are we as a people? And where is it that we're going? What is it we're trying to achieve? And that takes us to what it was that the Shaheed Singhs themselves were trying to do, and something that we should all be trying to do. And again, Barvinder said it at the top. Everything's about connecting with Guru Sahib. ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਜੁੜਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਾਤੇ ਕਹਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ। Sikh only exists when Guru's there. If Guru's not there, Sikh ਫਿਰ ਕਾਹਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ? You know, a Sikh ਨਹੀਂ, just ਆਮ ਬੰਦਾ like everyone else. So everything that we've tried to promote has always been ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਜੋੜਨਾ. You've got to connect with the Guru. Now, as he said, Barvinder said earlier, that means that you're connecting to the Gurdwara. In the modern age, it's not just the Gurdwara where we find Guru, though. We start finding Guru Sahib in digital format, find Guru Sahib in different places. And all of those spaces are places that we need to start concentrating on and that we protect. And that's why it becomes important that we have a range of organizations to speak to different audiences. Some people are going to speak to the people who are less involved in coming to the Gurdwara. Some people are going to speak specifically to those people who come to Gurdwara. Some people are going to speak to a more professional audience. Some people are going to speak to the students from Punjab who are trying to make their way in a foreign country for the first time. All of that work that we do is following on from the work that we've seen in recent times in Punjab by Khadku Sangharsh, by people from the political sphere, by people from all different groups and activities. And as we said, that's one of the reasons we've tried to focus on work like that as much as we can. When people give Shaheedi, what they're doing is they give themselves. They give everything they've got and put it across. And that's what we should all be doing when we undertake seva. And that's why it's so pleasing to see so many people come to events like this to get behind and support groups like Sikh Youth UK who are giving everything and putting everything on the line to help people at their time of need, something that all of us should be hopefully trying to do. So ਇੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕਰਦਾ. Say again, ਵਧਾਈ ਹੋਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ on this 10-year anniversary, and thank you to the Gurdwara Sahib here in Coventry. That is rare that you'd get someone like that. They started it 10 years ago, and then 10 years on, this is where they get to celebrate the Barsi, as it were. And so thanks to them for all of the support they've been giving to the Sangat that wide and all of the different programs that are happening. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So thank you to Bhai Harvinder Singh from Naujawani. So like Bhai Sahib said, Shahidi as a concept is one that's celebrated, and I think they've done a great job along with other kind of organizations in documenting the story of our Shaheed. So martyrdom is immortalization. It was actually 10 years ago, we mentioned earlier, by Balwant Singh Rajwana's Fancy was going to happen, and that's when these organizations were set up. Jagraj Singh was here from Basics, who would later go on to start Basics. Deepa Singh was here, as were other Singh, Shamsher Singh Honi, to set up National Sikh Youth Federation. At that time, Balwant Singh Rajwana was saying, give me the noose. I want to be immortalized. I want to be with my brothers. I want to be with the Sukha Jinda. So in the same way, Bhai Sahib and his kind of online presence are bringing these stories to life for the new generation. So we want to switch topic a little bit and go on to some kind of more recent events. So I think recently there was a case of bullying, and Baji and their family dealt with that. This is something that's kind of happening more and more. We're seeing like videos go around, young Sikh lads mainly getting picked on, fights happening, kind of shaming them, etc. So I'd like Baji to come in on this because it's quite a recent case. You may have probably seen the video, and I just want to say the Singh who was in the video, I don't know if he's here, but I did an absolutely fantastic job. बहुत चंगी तरह ने जवाब दिता. But I want to hear from Bhai Sahib how what he thinks and how we should deal with these issues going forward.
6 months ago, he actually got attacked by two boys. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So I'm here off the back of an incident that happened on Monday. And now this is an incident that I'm sure 95, 98% of people in this room have felt, heard about. It's either happened to themselves or it's happened to someone that they know. And I mean, this is about a family that joined a school recently. It's a 15-year-old boy. And it was a Catholic school that he's joined. And sort of, just to give you a bit of background, so sort of 6 months ago, he actually got attacked by two boys. Predominantly white school, typical scenario. And these two boys, they jumped him. He sort of had black eye, bleeding around his eye. All because he's Sikh students at the end of the day, minority pupil. Not many others that go there. I think there's another sort of Pakistani boy. There's an African, Jamaican. So, these four lads here are just sort of forced to stick together themselves and often sort of berated by the white students that go there, the majority of them. And so 6 months ago, he was attacked, and he, luckily, thankfully, he put himself in boxing classes. And he said that he must know how to fight, he must learn how to defend himself. And this incident happened on Monday where, he knew if he was going to get into trouble again, there's going to be suspensions, there's going to be, further issues, and he's going to be taken out of his study, GCSEs. And so the video starts off where he's sort of, this boy and him, the white student and the Sikh boy, holding each other. Now, he wears the star most times, he's, Dara as he is, and he's not afraid to show who he is and stand up for what he believes in. And now this white boy is sort of holding him, they're holding each other at this point, but the Sikh student is saying, leave me alone, I don't want this. As our Guruji's always said, fighting was the last resort that we have. But this boy proceeds to punch him, and then they get into a little scrap off the back of that. And it's disgusting to see, really. And the star comes off, and again, it's happened to myself before. It's happened to probably a great number of people that I see here now. And this just can't continue. So at that point in time, as soon as I saw this video, I passed it on to Baji Deepa and Deepa Singh, and thank you to Sikh Youth UK for everything that they did at that time in sort of getting the video out and showing the sort of mass audience, which is, again, as a few people have touched on, why social media is here now, and it's very important that we use this as a tool as well to get our message across that, you know, we're not going to stand up for things like this. The backlash and the outrage that we had as a community, as a Sikh community, was fantastic to see. And, you know, a lot of people got onto the school. There was a lot of hashtags, a lot of, you know, challenges to the school directly via telephone, via email, to say, what are you going to do about this? And not just here, you know, this can happen at any school, and it has happened at many schools. But, you know, it's just to show that the main thing that I wanted to say really was that we won't stand for this as a community, not where any of our brothers and sisters are concerned, our sons, daughters are concerned. And, you know, we will make sure that as a community we will come together and put pressure on schools to tell them that, you know, this isn't allowed, whether you need to educate your teachers, whether you need to educate the students. Because as we all know, Sikhi in schools isn't taught at all, or, you know, very minimal compared to other religions. And it's just to highlight or maybe showcase a little bit more on Sikhi to show that who we are as a community, what we stand for, and where we fit in here. And you know, again, a massive thank you to Baji. And everybody must learn martial arts. It was sixth Guru, Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, Miri Piri de Malik, that said, we must defend ourselves from these attacks that happen to us. And albeit we might not face the same attacks today, but in different way, shape and form, we do face these attacks. And it is imperative that, you know, our sons, daughters do know how to defend themselves if they ever get into a situation like this. And, you know, thankfully the boy did. And if you see in the video, he does fight back very well, heart of a lion. And that's my message here today, is that we must defend ourselves. We must show that as a community we can come together. And the school, I mean, they put the boy in suspension for 3 days first, and then they were going to put him in isolation after that. But again, thanks to all the pressure that was put on him, I think they realised that we can't do this. And, you know, I did contact the head of the school. And again, I will say, if anybody else is having any trouble with this, with things like this with their schools, you know, feel free to reach out to myself. Baji Deepa is here as well. You know, we will back you and stand your ground and help you stand your ground in that sense to show that, you know, again, this can't continue. But yes, so instead of the 3 weeks isolation that they were going to give him, because of the pressure that was put on them, you know, they realised that this wasn't acceptable, and they're going to allow him to continue in his studies, obviously GCSEs at the time. But yeah, so it's just to show that we can come together as a community, and we must do, and social media is important in that aspect, that, you know, let's get the message across, and let's show people that, you know, we're not here just as walkovers, as pushovers, that, you know, we will come together and we will fight things like this anywhere where there's, you know, disrespect to our community. So that was it. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you to Baji for sharing his experiences. So it feels like every few months go by and then there's a new video or a new case and stuff like that. And exactly how Baji said, training and martial arts and to defend ourselves is intertwined into our identity. It was actually Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj who carried a stick, asa, a stick, jida Baji Tinyang Singh piche baithi ji with a stick. That's how Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj used to carry that. Bhai Gurdas Ji testifies to this. Fir Baba Makkah gaya, Neel Bastar Tare Banwari, Asa Hath Kitab Kach. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj carried a salotar. Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj started the Mal Akhada, the wrestling academy that is still there to this day, near Khadur Sahib. So over to Indi Singh, Inderpal Singh from Singh Army Podcast. He's also the General Secretary of this Gurdwara Sahib. He's fought at professional level in both mixed martial arts and boxing, and currently is doing a case sambal seminar. So I'd like Baji to actually talk about that, what the aims are, and, you know, I feel like it's really relevant with what we've just heard, the plight of this family.
1940s in this country, someone's the star getting knocked off. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'd like to thank the organisers for asking me to talk today, and just adding to what Veerji has just spoken about there, and the concept of safety for our youth is a very big thing. But what we must understand is this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. it takes a long time to embed this mentality and this process, and it starts with your local Gurdwara Sangat. It then goes on to your Gurmat camps, and some of the work that Sikh youth do is immense. So last summer holidays, 6 weeks of holidays, 1 week camps at 6 different locations. And as an organisation, to do that and to spread that prachar, this is the kind of things that they do. And I always get the phone call, we're in this city this week, can you deliver the Gir Sambal talk? And it's just those small steps that work towards a bigger step, because overnight it's very hard to change anyone's mentality on anything, but it is working locally and then working with the Gurmat camps. And this is what Sikh Youth does probably more than anybody else that we see doing, because travelling around the country is something that we've only started doing now as a Singh Army team to deliver the Gir Sambal seminar. But these guys have been doing it for 10 years, and it does get challenging. Sometimes you'll get Gurdwara Sahibs where the committee are not fully on board and they're not supporting, but you persevere for the youth, because when you see any video, I've seen the video that Baji's talking about, and that's actually, you get nervous when you open these videos because you don't know what's going to happen in there, because there's so many where it just ends so horribly for our youth. But that one, it was a really very good video. The young lad, he fought back and he was resilient and he was strong, and he showed a good example for other young children as well. But there is a lot of videos where we are the victims, and this isn't something that's been happening now for the last 6 months, for the last year. This has been going on since the 1940s in this country. Someone's the star getting knocked off simply for the reason that they've got it on their head. People feel provoked by why they're wearing that, and they don't like it and they attack it for no other reason, because bullying goes on everywhere, at every school. But when you're bullied because of your gears, and when young Singhs or Singhniya say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to wear that, they're going to pick on me, I don't want to keep my gears anymore, and then the parents then say to the rest of the family, oh, we had to cut it, he didn't like it, he was getting bullied, which is very common now. So both of them things hurt equally. One, a young Singh getting bullied, and two, a young Sikh cutting their gears. Both of those things equally hurt. So what we wanted to do was try and help with this situation. So Veerji Man Singh, who set this up, and we're just assisting him. We go around and we go to the Gurmat camps, and recently there was an incident in Bristol. The young Sikh recorded it himself, the young Singh. He's got severe autism and he was getting severely bullied, and he made that video, and then on that weekend we delivered a session there. So wherever it's happening, we try and go. There was a big incident in Leicester last year. I don't know if any of you guys remember, with 2 brothers who were attacked. That weekend we were there. The weekend before we were there, and both of those 2 lads were in the Gir Sambal seminar. We were at one of Baji's camps. So these little things, they just add up, because like I said, you can't change someone's mentality in a 2-hour session or over a week. It's accumulation of things that will change that mentality. And the harder thing for children now is when we talk back to this racism or attacks on young Sikhs, it's been going on for a very, very long time. But the difference is the upbringing. So children now, they're going from their 5-bedroom house where their games room is slightly smaller than this room, in a brand new Range Rover, to their private school, to their tennis club, and back home. So they're not exposed to anything. Then suddenly at school, there's that viciousness, that nastiness on the playground, and it's not the children's fault. And we're saying to the children, be strong, give it back, man up, don't take this, don't take that. But their upbringing is so different to our previous generations, and we have to understand that. And it's the same, we help out with the football. So a lot of the Punjabi and the Gurdwara football teams, they will still experience it. There's Baji, who's one of the coaches here, who went to play in an area that's got basically no Asians in that area. And, it's a common thing where when you see a team full of Asians, everybody else gets up for it. So they're like, oh, these lot are here, we got to get up for this one. And it's still that nastiness, racism on the side. And then these same lads, these same young kids have that same lifestyle, and we're expecting so much of them without actually nurturing that, taking time, building it, growing it, and doing all these kind of things. So I would say it is the small steps. So as Gir Sambal team, we are trying to go around as many Gurukars and support. And the important thing to know is that incident was caught on video, but how many incidents are not caught on video? How many of us were at school or in the park and these incidents weren't caught on video? We're lucky now there are a lot of camera phones out, but this has been going on for a long time, and it is a big thing. And we see knife crime and all these other things is only getting bigger and bigger. And knife crime is a big thing, but we were given the Shastra first. We were the very first people, and we live by the Shastra. It's an ang. Maharaj made it an ang. It's embedded into our DNA, the Shastra is. And people are intimidating us with Shastra. They're pulling out knives, they're pulling out things at school, and all these kind of things. So I always say the same thing to the children. I always say, be the model pupil. But when there's a time to be the model Gursikh, be the model Gursikh. And this only happens with the parent support. So we're talking about Sangharsh. All these sons of Punjab that went on to do great acts of valor, that went on to assassinate so many high-ranking people, they were all blessed by their parents, their mothers especially. So मैं खास करके कहता अपने भैनां नूं, you can instill that bravery, you can instill that in your child. If your child comes home hurt and his mother says to him, you go back tomorrow and you deal with this situation, that son will have a new vigor, a new energy. So a lot of it, the education will always come from the mother. As fathers, we can try as much as we can to train them and to install that little bit of mentality, but to a certain degree, it'll always come down to the mother. So I plead to all my sisters to have that mentality for your children, where they don't have to be tolerated, where it doesn't have to be tolerated, where they're victims. But again, going back to Baji and his seva, it's an immense seva, and a lot of us will see a video of any type of bullying and say that's a shame and flick through to the next one. But Baji is the kind of person who will find out who it is, where they are, and within an hour he's at their house, speaking in their living room, talking to their parents. That's the difference. So I hope this seva continues. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the Gurukar today, and I hope we may continue to serve locally and nationally as well. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you to Indrapal Singh from Singh Army Podcast and the seva that he does with Gir Sambal. Now over to Kam Singh, who's been involved from the start of pretty much every project. So I want Kam Singh to talk about the role of the media, especially how that's changed and kind of where we are with that at the minute, and what he sees for the future. So the role of like a panthic media, the role of a media that kind of isn't biased and it isn't filtered, and how we take that forward. Over to Kam Singh.
Whatever little bit we can do, there's good points. Little bit, whatever you can do, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੋ. Satsang ji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Put on the spot there. I'm not sure where to go with that one. First of all, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ. They're talking about 10 ਸਾਲ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਅਪਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੇ Coventry ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਉਪਰਾਲੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ 10 ਤੋਂ 20 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੀਗੇ. ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ. ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਨਾ, get everyone together, talk about issues that are affecting us, and then find ways that we can practically and realistically do something. Whatever little bit we can do. There's good points. Little bit, whatever you can do, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੋ. Whether that's just sharing the text or forwarding that text on. And those in Coventry, you can honor Pushleo, they used to get texts from me all the time. And the only thing I used to ask them was, if you don't attend, forward it to others, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ program ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਵਾ, ਆ ਜਾਓ. Somewhere down the line, like India says, that consistency. somewhere down the line, people are going to get that text, and one day they think, you know, I'm going to go to one of these events, let's see what happens. And we've done the Remembrance Week programs here, we did Amrit Vela Week programs here, we did Sikhi classes, and they had consistent. So once a week, we would meet up for 1 hour and would discuss any topic that you wanted to talk about, made it relevant to you. Whether that's Sikhi based, whether that's panthic based, whether that's Masla in 84, you name it, whatever it was, we're here to listen and then guide and share what knowledge we have, and then go and research and bring back more knowledge so we can go further into it. What the point was is that apni seva tusi aap karni hegi ya. You have to be that light. And before you're going to wake up for 1 hour, you're going to have to be awake first. Really simple. Jinna tusi kar sakde unna hi thoda va kaljug da sama, unfortunately. So whatever little you can do, do it. But this is another thing I always say. This is media te gall karde ha, jehड़ा tusi gall karde 10 years ago, it was right here at Guru Nanak Prakash Gurdwara Coventry, and we were talking about by Balwant Singh Rajwana's Phansi di saza honi sigi and all the rest of it, and we called a youth conference, okay? And there was about good 300 people in this room, and we got the video recording. I'm sure Shamsher's still got it somewhere. And ithon oh shuruaat hoya siga. Sarbjit Rajwana TV here. Basics of Sikhi, Jagraj Singh here. Deepe Singh Honi's Sikh Youth Forums started from here. National Sikh Youth Federation, Shamsher Honi, started. Because you brought the community together, you discussed the topics that were affecting us, and you said, okay, not any galakali, and that's it, everyone go home. What are you going to do about it now? How many Naujawan are there currently in the UK? Sikhs? What, 50,000 honge? 50,000 Naujawan honge, but where are they? Aj di raat kitte honge ho? Where are they? You know where they are. This is the issue we're up against. So now you're realizing, hold up, where is everybody? Kitte gaye sare jane? You cannot transform all of them overnight. But what you can do is the ones that are awake, make that unit stronger. With that unit being stronger, you'll start doing shorte aprale, whether that's even just meeting up once a week to discuss Sikhi issues, doing similar chope sa the Paath together, whatever it might be, it's a start. And what you're going to find is, as long as you're true to the cause, Maharaj themselves will do kirpa, and holy people start joining on. Everyone's going to start joining. And there used to be, Manav Singh, all these Naujawan, even Indi Singh, used to be part of the same classes. There used to be 120 people here talking about those issues. And we're not talking 10 saal, we're talking 15 years ago. Because of ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਆਪੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ you just got to take that qadam, just take the step. Whatever you can do, whether it's designing a poster, whether it's actually organizing the what do you call it, the ਕੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, this PowerPoint presentation, someone do the research, someone might be good at talking, yeah, someone's good at kirtan, someone's good at doing Paath, someone's good at bringing everyone together. Whatever it might be, as long as you use your ability that you have for the betterment of the Panth, you're on the right path. Because Paji ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਗਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਣੀ ਕਿ ਪੰਥ ਵਸੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਜੜਾ ਮਨ ਝਾਉਕਨੇਰਾ. Your mind, the only Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, this is the only thing they wanted to do ਕਿ ਪੰਥ ਵਸੇ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਜੜ ਵੀ ਜਾਵਾਂ. Powerful that is. ਪੰਥ ਵਸੇ. ਪਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਬਦਕਿਸਮਤੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਥ ਤੋਂ ਮੋਹਰੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਰੱਖ ਲਈ. I ain't scared to say, I'll say how it is, I'll say it on national TV. Because it's such the gal. Which Panth are you going to talk about when you're too busy about your own Jathebandi or your organisation? Once you start seeing the Panth as one, it ain't going to make no difference to you whether you was or pagi got on. Because when you come into Maharaj Darbar, odo sara Sikh parvar betha. When the genocides happened, ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ in the 5 genocides that are taking place in the Sikh community, tell me one genocide when the attackers or the tyrants singled you out and said, oh, you belong to this Jathebandi or this is your political view, we're not going to do anything to you. They just looked at your dastar, they looked at your kada. Je dushman tanu panth wa ke dekh raha, why is it the ones that are inside the panth, they're seeing it something different? ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਭਰਾ ਵਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਭੈਣ ਆ. Do you understand? Simple things like this. And this is what Guru Maharaj is talking about from day one. This panth, this concept, is way bigger than our mentality is going to gather or come into and focus thinking, our cheez. The pyar that Guru Nanak Dev Ji talked about, Guru Gobind Singh Ji talked about, Guru Granth Sahib Ji talks to you today is that same pyar, is that same panth. Every single one of you has an ability to do something, whether that's in written form, whether that's verbal, whether that's graphic design. It could be anything. But you have an ability. The only thing that when we used to do Sikh class, and I'll say what I used to say then, the only thing I'll ask you to do is one thing. How many kente in a week, right? It's hard if I say to you, start doing 2 hours a day, whatever it is. There's this 1 hour in a week, yeah? Use that ability for the betterment of the panth. Go and join any sanstha, makes no difference. Jitte tada ji karda na join kariyo. Par ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ join ਕਰੋ ਜਿਸ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. ਸਮਝ ਲੱਗੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ? If they're helping, if someone's doing something good, support them. That's been what my upbringing was. If I see someone doing something good, I will bring them. All these sanstha, you can go and ask any of these organizations. You asked about Sikh media. Go and look at Sikh media. Sikh channel ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਮੈਂ famous ਹੋਇਆ. Which is ਸੱਚ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ. Otherwise, who's going to know me? Sikh channel ਦੀ ਦੇਣ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਇਹ. So I've got to respect that. But with that ability and the ability that I could grab a mic and I could talk to people on their level, whether you be professional, whether you be from the street, makes no difference. Because I could converse in both. Because I had that ability, we brought that to the TV. And with that, we brought people onto the TV and showcased and made awareness of Sanstha, just like Shamsher Paji, just like Jagraj, just like Deepa. Why? Because all these different people are doing something positive for the community. I can't necessarily do what they're doing, but they can. But we got a platform. Why don't we use that platform to share it? Simple ji ਗੱਲ ਆ ਨਾ. ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਦਾਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ go back to Sikh channel and trying to control it and bring it back to make it more productive for the community. And it's a hard task. I'm going to lie to you. And I'm in a guru kar here and I didn't want to do it. ਸੱਚ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ. Didn't want to do it. ਪਰ KTV ਸਾਡਾ ਬੰਦ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ. ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਉਠਾਉਂਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ. Sikh channel on the 31st of May last year was going to close. And several times things asked me, please can you go back and do this? I ਦੋ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਨਕਾਰ ਕਰਤਾ. ਤੀਜੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ, it sings that these are people that are doing panthic seva. Yeah? They're doing panthic seva. How can I turn down people that are doing panthic seva and say, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ? ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ. Yeah? ਭਾਈ ਤਾਰੂ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਸੰਤ ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖ ਸਨ. ਭਾਈ ਤਾਰੂ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀ ਸੀਗੀ? ਲੰਗਰ ਛਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੂਰਮੇ ਲੜਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜੰਗਲਾਂ 'ਚ. Yeah? The ones that are fighting. ਸੇਵਾ ਨਿਭਾ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ. ਆਪਣੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਨੇ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਹੋਣੀ. ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਣੀ, ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੋੜਨਾ. ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਪੀਚਾਂ ਨੇ, ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਰਿਟਨ ਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੌਜਵਾਨੀ ਸੀ. ਭਾਜੀ ਹਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ, read some of the stuff that these guys write. It's inspirational stuff. They put it into written form. Every single one of us is going to catch on to something, thinking, you know what, this inspired me. I like this part, I want to learn more. Whether it's 84, whether it's Gurbani, whether it's Kirtan, whether it's a Langar concept, something's going to bring you into Sikhi. But that's the bringing you're in. Now you need to take it further. And then not just take it further, take your people around you with you. And ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿਟਨੈਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਿਓ ਕਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਮੱਥਾ ਟੇਕਣ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ. I used to have a ਗੱਡੀ, so I used to come on my own. And I thought, I've got 4 seats empty. So in the way, I'll drop off at the park, grab 4 of the 4 guys, I don't want to take it when we play football after. Take them with me. It's something simple, but if we go to Chasni Pageant, it became a routine. Let's all get to Godra, do Mata take, and then we'll come back, and we'll play football. What I'm trying to say is, we all got to do our little bit. as long as you do your little bit, and the second thing you need to do is support those, make sure you remember this point, support those that are doing something, because they're not going to be doing it forever. Koi bahana ban jana, kuch problem pੈ ਸਕਦੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਉੱਦਾਂ externally ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਦੀਪੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੂੰ. Anything can happen, and that seva will come to a halt, or a grind, or a slowdown. And ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਗਏ ਬੰਦੇ, ਹੁਣ ਕੋਈ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਠਾਉਂਦਾ. ਜਦੋਂ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਠਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਖੜਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ. ਗੱਲ ਸੱਚ ਆ. When people were doing the seva, ਉਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਖੜਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ. That's what my life experience, I'll tell you this is what I say on TV every single time. ਜੇ ਕੁਝ ਚੰਗਾ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਨਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਲਓ. ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ. ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਵਾਲ ਲਿਖੇ ਆ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ, we don't know. And we're here for a short period, but the point of like I said, I congratulate you, like Harvinder Singh has, to congratulate Deep Pahoni because they're doing a fantastic job. And although Sikh Youth Project started the Sikh Forum, and they've mentioned that, and we did all this, but you can ask Deepa, Gawawata de Samane, whether it was Leeds, whether it's Aman Singh Honi from Leicester Hodwe, Leeds Hodwe, Jitte Marji Siga, what we did was, we didn't instill our thinking and processes onto the next generation. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਨਾ, because ਸੇਵਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਂਭ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨੀ. We can give you guidance, but you take it the route you think. Because if Maharaj is taking that seva from you, it's for a reason. Reason है ना कोई, otherwise वो सेवा मिलनी सी. Just think about that for a second. जब महाराज वो सेवा उन्होंने दे रहे आ, एक कोई कारण होगा. Maybe we can see it, maybe we can't, but there's a reason. But तुसी इन्ना ही समझ लो जो सेवा आज उन्होंने मिली आ, ओके कोई भी कार्य होए, कोई भी वो संस्था होए, उन्होंने support ही करना ना, then we could do more. There's more we can do, and we need to do more. But Jagdish Singh ji talked about that Punjabi student thing. It is massive, massive issue, and we are not prepared for it. I'm telling you now, we're not prepared for it. We're front line, I'm telling you. The things that are going on out there, where do you start? You know where it starts? It doesn't need 500 people here. It doesn't need 5,000 people here. It just needs 5 of you here right now to wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. This is my Panth, this is my community. These issues affecting my people. Aah sochi tusi le aayo na. ਫਿਰ ਬਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ. ਫਿਰ 1.25 ਲੱਖ ਦੇ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵਾ ਬਈ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਬਚਨ ਨਾਲ. You understand that? ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਵੇਂ I'm put on the spot. I'm not know where I'm supposed to talk about what I need to talk about. But so this I'll get you get random talks. That's what happens, isn't it? But you put me on the spot. That's what you're gonna get. But ਚਲੋ ਠੀਕ ਆ. ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿ ਦੂੰਗਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਬਾਰੇ. ਮੀਡੀਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਪਾਵਰਫੁਲ ਟੂਲ ਆ. ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੇਤਾ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਓ. We all got social media accounts, and you've noticed over the past 5-6 years in particular how the algorithms on those social media accounts can be changed. And you might put up the most positive point that needs to be out there to reach the masses, and it ain't going to go nowhere because it is being downplayed, all right? Their pages get removed, all these sort of things. ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਥ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਕਰ ਲਗਾ, ਸੁਣਿਓ ਬੜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ. I didn't want to do Sikh channel. You can ask all these people, ask them all, ਸਾਰੇ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਓਗੇ. ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ. I've got other things, other ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ that I need to be doing. ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, as we did our duty when we were your age, ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੰਭੋ. You take it forward, you have fresh ideas, take it forward. ਪਰ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੱਥ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ 'ਚ. ਇੱਕ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਵਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਵਾ. I'm trying to make it so it is compatible with the Sikh community, so it's meeting the needs of our community by raising the awarenesses that you're talking about in these conference rooms, in those in your training courses. But they need to reach the masses. Please support. जुड़ो नाल. मैं तानू रोक नहीं पाਉਂਦਾ हूँगा. You want to do a show, you do a series, I am here to support. पर आज तुसी चेता रख लियो. While I'm there, ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ. Once I'm gone, don't come and say to me then, Cam, Baji, can we do a show? Can we do this? Because that's what happens. As soon as I disappear for a bit, and Cam, when you're coming back on TV, we need to do this show, we need to do this. ਕਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ. ਉਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ. You understand? Please support. The media is a powerful tool because that's exactly what it is. It's a medium. And why it's called program, because it programs the mind. And if we're looking at all the problems in our community and why they are that way, if all our children, our people our age are now on TikTok, Instagram, and they're watching these reels of apne Nojwan, Punjabi students in particular, what some of this kututa they're doing, Shraban Pike, screaming like hyenas in the middle of the streets in city centres. ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਇਹ 'ਚ ਡਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਵਾ and I'm not saying in a negative way to look down upon someone ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਵਾ ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਗਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਰਾਹ ਲਾਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਹੁਣ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਰਾਹ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਲਾ ਲਈਏ ਕੱਲ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਲੈ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਸਮਝ ਲੱਗੀ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੋ Sikh media, Sikh channel, I'll say this openly to you. Anybody here that would like to do a show, a series on a particular topic, ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਸੱਚ ਗਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ we got too many problems not just in Punjab ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਰ ਲਿਓ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ and how we're getting dismantled on the streets to the institutions all you got to do is pay attention and you'll see it for yourself so ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ like I said to you don't worry about numbers number game ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ number game ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ By Bhutta Singh, by Garja Singh Khasa Raj Kita might have been the smallest Khasa Raj they did, but other tax lata si unna ne. There's two of them. Do you understand that? There's two of them. Tax lata siga. Kehte ke sahing ho ke two of them took over the Grand Trunk Road and put tax on anyone that went past. Khabar that's what we talk about it today. Khabar dur tak pahunch gayi. Because it's inside you. Who you're going to inspire and that spirit that's going to wake inside you, you have to please support those that are doing something. So fantastic work to Deepa Singh because I am, on God's honest truth, I have more arguments in this guy than probably anyone else. But I ain't live, he's on the phone to me all the time, which but he's doing, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੱਚ ਦੱਸਦਾ some of the stuff that he does, the hours that he puts in, I've been there, I've seen it firsthand. Shabash, may Maharaj keep him, his entire Sevadar team network na ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਰਹਿਣ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਲੈਣ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅਗਾਂ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਹੀ ਰਾਹ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ ਕਰੇ ਜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੁਝ ਗਲਤ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ I wasn't supposed to even do a speech so I apologize for that but ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਹਿ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ I'll pass it back to him now let him continue with the rest of the conference ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Many thanks to Kam Singh for giving his vichar. Maharaj Kripa Karan, inanu vi hor chardhi kala bakshish karan seva bakshish karan. So we hope the Sikh media continues its kind of panthic outlook. And anybody in this room, so there's multiple organizations in this room, I would implore you to take up Kam Singh's offer and if you have an idea of a series or something like that, there's all very important messaging, whether that's from the Sikh parenting course, whether that's whichever organizations in here, I'd urge all you to take up that platform that already exists. So Sadhsang, will be about 10 more minutes and then it's going to be the finish of the conference. So I'd like to call up Tish Kaur from Cause Legal to talk particularly about Sikh activism and the issues that we're facing. Kam Singh's already talked about the censorship, the online censorship, and how we can tackle that. So I know there's been some good work done by various organisations by meeting with Meta in particularly to kind of get bans lifted off certain words and certain key terms. So over to Tish Kaur to talk about Sikh activism.
Juggy hasn't had a fair trial to date. He's had over 190 pre-trial hearings. He's had 89 trial hearings. Vaiguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaiguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'll try and keep this brief and concise as I can. There's 3 cases in particular that I want to go through. The first one is Juggy's case, which you're all aware of, and I just want to briefly go through the human rights abuses that have occurred in his case. So firstly, if we look at his right to a fair trial, this hasn't happened. Juggy hasn't had a fair trial to date. He's had over 190 pre-trial hearings. He's had 89 trial hearings. This is something that's unheard of in the UK. And there have been a number of hearings where prosecution witnesses were supposed to be presented for cross-examination. That didn't happen. He wasn't allowed to cross-examine those witnesses to test the case against him. And as an accused, he is allowed to test the case against him, and he is allowed and has a right to cross-examine those witnesses. He cannot have a fair trial without due process, and he has not been given this chance. Moving on to the second issue is Article 3, which is freedom from inhumane treatment and torture. As we all know, Juggy's been tortured. He's written detailed letters himself explaining the torture he's been through. Now, if this was to be presented before a judge or jury here, they would find this as compelling evidence that he has been tortured. And so Juggy's right to torture and inhumane treatment, which we've seen and we've read the letters in detail, it's just shocking, the stuff that he's been through. And if he's here in the UK, this would not have happened. In terms of his right to family and private life, he hasn't had this. In terms of his contact with his family has been very limited. He's only had a number of phone calls. If he was in the UK and he was on trial here, every prisoner is allowed visitors. They're allowed telephone contact with their families. Juggy hasn't had this. And the most important point in Juggy's case is, if he is found convicted of these offences, he faces the death penalty. Just let that sink in. He will face the death penalty and lose his life. In the UK, if you're sentenced to life imprisonment and there has been an issue where there's been a miscarriage of justice, as in Juggy's case, you have a right to appeal that and get that conviction quashed. There's no such thing in cases of death penalty. That can't happen. His life will be gone and it will be too late. We need to advocate for him now. Moving on to the second case that I want to talk about is the case of the 5 Singhs where the raids happened against him. Now, these Singhs were targeted because of their activism in the UK and speaking out for Juggy's case. When the raids happened, they all happened at the same time, and the reason for this was so that they couldn't speak to each other. It's a target used by the police here to ensure that they can't speak to one another. Now, they breached a number of PACE code of conducts in these cases, and one of them was they know who's going to be in the home when they go and raid the home. So they were fully aware there were going to be elderly people, children, women in the properties. Yet they made no provisions. And according to the PACE Code of Conduct, they are supposed to make provisions when they know there are going to be elderly people, children and women on the property. And they didn't. And then further, the Singhs were informed that they weren't allowed to record officers while they were conducting the searches. This is incorrect. You're allowed to record officers, and in fact, legal professionals encourage clients to record for their own protection and safety. And you're allowed to record officers provided you don't obstruct them in the course of their duties. So you can record them from a distance. And their items were seized from children, from various members of families, and the only items that should have been seized were those of that person named on the search warrant. Finally, in this case, it was that children were being searched. Now, the age of criminal responsibility in the UK is the age of 10. Children under the age of 10 should not have been searched. Moving on to the final case that I want to speak about today is the West Midlands 3 case. We're all aware of what happened in that case. And again, there was a breach of PACE code of conduct when one of the Singhs was arrested. He needed medication, and now when someone's arrested and they're taken to the police station, officers are supposed to ask them if they have any medication, if they've got any health conditions, etc., and they're supposed to be seen by a custody nurse. Now, the Singh was seen by a custody nurse. He told them that he required medication. He was not given this medication. That was a breach of one of his human rights, but also one of the PACE code of conduct, which officers are supposed to abide by. And when the judge found out that he hadn't been given this medicine, she adjourned the hearing and made sure he was given that medicine. It should not have happened. And coming on to the trial, at the door of trial, because of the hard work of the legal defence team, they obtained evidence that was deliberately not disclosed to the defence team, which would have proved these three men innocent. And there wouldn't have been a need for a trial. There was fabricated evidence used against them. As a prosecution or even a defence team in the UK, you have an ongoing duty to disclose evidence that may assist your case or assist, which may undermine your case or assist one of another. And one of the pieces of evidence was a statement from the victim's son, which you heard Gareth Pearce speak about after the trial. Those men that killed his father, he claims, were clean-shaven Munne. These were three Singhs on trial. So you can see how fabricated evidence has been used but against these Singhs for their activism, and that's why it's so important for different members of the Sangat to come forward with different skill sets and support them in not only in their activism but anything that they need support with. Cases, whether that's grooming cases, which have already been mentioned, any skill set that you can provide and assist with, you need to come forward and provide. And that's all I wanted to say today. So, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Along with this, Schedule 7 stops, border stops. Sikh activists have been stopped at borders in the UK. Their passports have been taken off them. Prevent schemes put in place to stop activism, disrupt Sikh activism in the UK. Some people who don't understand it, your average Joe, don't understand these issues. But if you're on the front line and you're an activist, you understand that being targeted is part of the parcel. And, you know, you should speak to some of those family members. You should speak to the activists to see the extent that this government, this corrupt system go to target them. Government reports as well. Activists have been named under extremism in government reports made by the UK. So there's a massive collusion. You can see the banners around you. They've colluded to target Jaggi, and they'll continue to target other activists at the same time. So I just wanted to elaborate a bit on the activism. Tish did it as a legal way, but we need to, as a community, understand the real issues, and these are them. So if you're an activist, remember what you're up against, yeah? And Maniv, if you just introduce the next topic and the last couple of speakers. Last 5 minutes, please, guys.
So over to Shamsher Singh from National Sikh Youth Federation, so Badi and their team. So yeah, just for 2 minutes, they shown the documentary earlier today about Al-Vamrsar. So yeah, a lot of work has been done into that, and Maharaj Girpakar, they've got future projects in the pipeline as well. So Shamsher Singh.
Jaggi's been in prison for 5 years. He's been charged now with his case.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Yeah, it's a bit surreal being back in this room, in this place where everything kind of started off that moment like 10 years ago. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. A lot of morche are continued in that spirit. But what brought us to this room back 10 years ago, and what continues to unite us, what continues to drive us in those gurdwaras, that dard for the Panth, is because of our elders in these towns that we live in, wherever we've connected. We got that connection to the Panth, to the Sangharsh, and also sadde vich dard sigi, jinne bhi, all the Naujwans that spoke, all the Naujwans that are active in the local communities, that care about these issues, care about the Sikhi of the next generation, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਦਰਦ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਆ. And that dard in your hirda, that khich to do seva, that's Satguru Sahib's blessing. That ਉਹ ਦਰਦ ਦਾ ਪਾਲਣਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ, like sitting across
like borders sitting across like a whole ocean, generation barrier, language barrier. ਉਹ ਦਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਂਭਣਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਰਜ਼ ਹੈ, because it's ਕੀਮਤੀ, right? That dard is placed in your heart to feel that pain. Not everyone feels it. Those that do, they're very fortunate. And ਉਹ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆਪ ਆਪਣੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਤੁਰਿਆ ਆਇਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਸਾਜਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਪੰਥ ਆ. ਇਹ ਪੰਥ didn't just emerge out of itself. ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆਪ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਜਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਪ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. So for me, the biggest thing is, and for all the things that we work with, that what drives us is this kitch and this connection to the Panth. All the Gurdwara that we see where there's a lot of activism happening that are still the guard for Sikhi are all the Panthic Gurdwara. Like this one, you go into the Langar hall, you see photos of Shaheeds. In that kids' room, you got kids doing drawings of Bhai Avtar Singh Brahma dropping the helicopter down in the Mand. These are all the Gurdwara where there's that kitch and that dard. And that is the central ground that unites us. That gone on wale samay de vich, where we saw our elders, the ones that built the Gurdwara, what united them was this larger alienation from the Gora society. They felt that they didn't belong in, so they kept together. They were close-knit, living at home together, looked out for each other, built Gurdwara. And the more and more we feel that we're not alienated from this society, the more and more we think we fit into this society, ਉੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਖਾਲੀ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ. People are going away from Sikhi, getting domesticated into a different culture. ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਦਰਦ ਆ, they're forgetting that connection is breaking. So what's going to unite us, what gives us that sense of empowerment, that gives us that grounding, because we talk about Panth and Panthic a lot, right? Panth ta Panthic ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਆ, the ones that do the ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ of the Sikhi of the Shaheeds. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੂਰਮਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, the ones that do ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ about their ਸਿੱਖੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਗੁਣ ਸੀਗੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਲਾਗ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੀ, what was that ਜਾਗਰਤਾ that they had in their ਸਿੱਖੀ. That's what it means to be Panthic in this day and age. And it continue well, because Panthic activism is a word that we use today because, you know, our language, but asal de ਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ what is called is ਪੰਥ ਦਾ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼, right? ਸਾਡਾ ਕੌਮੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਦੀਵੀ ਚਲਿਆ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਆ. This is something that's going to happen for generations and generations, because ਜਿੰਨੀ ਚਿਰ ਜਬਰ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਉਨੇ ਚਿਰ ਪੰਥ ਦਾ ਦਾਵਾ ਰਹੂ ਗਿਆ, ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਤੇਗਾਂ ਚੱਲੂਗੀਆਂ. So we've seen a lot happen in the last 10 years in terms of organizations, in terms of activism. 2016 to 2017, there was 7 organized assassinations against the RSS in Punjab that completely shook the Indian state. At that time when they thought, you know, the movement's finished, no one's really talking about it, there's no armed karwaiyan happening, at that time, the actions Naujawan took. And those actions that those Naujawan took, we see today Bagga Sherab in prison, we see the continuing trend of the Sarkara. It started with the imprisonment of Jaggi. From then on, it hasn't calmed down at all. If you follow the trajectory, Jaggi's been in prison for 5 years, he's been charged now with his cases. They're not backing down. All of the what we think what we're doing versus what's actually happening in reality, the charges landing, houses getting raided, extradition attempts here in the UK, and extradition attempts now pending in Canada as well, travel bans being imposed on things, Schedule 7 stops, bank accounts being frozen of Panthic Naujawan. Now increasingly we're seeing the same tactics being deployed in Australia, Canada and America, and we're seeing this continual escalation from the Indian state. And it's only going to get worse in these coming next 10 years, unless we get together on our Qawmi Nishana. Like ekta, like our Shaheeds, Bibi Bimal Kaur said, ekta vyaktiyan de piche nahi hundi, na kursiyan de piche hundi, ekta nishanne de piche hundi hai. And our Qawmi Nishana is for Khalistan. That's what's the driving force of the Qurbani of a whole generation. That's what's built the bricks and mortars of all the Panthic Gurukars that you see. That's what drives all of the Naujawan activism, that connection, that dard. Other people that you see in the community, or so-called Punjabis, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰਦਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਗਾਂਧ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਦਰਦ ਹੋਣੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਲੋਕੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਧਾਰੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਰਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਦ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਕਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ, what's happening in our Panth. So that dard, that thing is such a beautiful, powerful thing that ਉਹਦਾ ਪਾਲਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਗਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਆਪ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਕਰਨ, ਸੇਵਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਰਹਿਣ. ਤਾਂ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੁ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨੀ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Thank you to Bhai Sher Singh for giving his vichar. Now I'd like to introduce Ranjit Singh from Azadism. So Baji, for those who don't know, has a fantastic Instagram account and recently wrote a book, Azadist Manifesto, so like the economics of a Sikh state. So I'd encourage everybody to look up at that. Baji fairly new onto our radar anyway. So yeah, I'd like to give him the opportunity to give his vichar.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity and the platform to present Azadism. So I want to begin with this. You don't start a business without a business plan. So why would you start a nation without a plan? So this is the kind of motivation behind Azadism, to provide that framework to further go on and actually outline this plan. How would a nation work? So what I've done is create a Sikhi-based economic political philosophy to act as an alternative towards sort of these external forces that are pushing in things like state socialism, communism. I think these things are evil to the Panth, and the Naujawan especially are so susceptible to these things. And they're such broken ideas as well. So what I put a lot of effort into now is providing an alternative and presenting a Sikhi-based ideology that this is how modern economics actually works. This is what Sikh Itihas is, this is what Bani says, and let's combine it together and provide something that we can use to actually form a state. Again, it's not shareholders' wealth at stake with the nation, it's millions of lives potentially. So we can't just say, okay, we'll figure out as we go along or after we get the state, and then we'll figure out the economic system, then we'll figure out the governance systems. That's the incorrect way of doing it, and I've heard that so many times from people, and it's very, very frustrating to hear that, because what's going to end up happening is you'll end up with a Sikhi version, like a Sikhi-themed Pakistan or a Sikhi-themed Hindustan, no different to what's come before, the exact same as what we already have now, but just with people with Dariya and Bagga instead in charge. So what we should do now is put the effort in now, have the vichara now, and actually set these systems in place, do those necessary vichara, so when we get to the stage when we have a state, we're not fumbling around like this, like Sudan or like North Korea or some stupid example like that. Let's actually be one of the most prominent nations this planet's ever seen. We've got people, individuals now, who are playing around with ideas like artificial intelligence, going to Mars, all this kind of thing. Now, when I say this to most Sikhs in the Panth, that's kind of ridiculous, like, oh, you're going to Mars, whatever, right? But this is the level that people have gone to, and we're so far behind. Even the work I've done in Azadism should have been done by people 100 years ago with far greater resources than me, far greater minds than me. So we're already behind. So I'm asking the Panth now to get in gear and actually start engaging with this project, engaging with these vichara, and deciding yourselves, what do you want this state to look like? What do you want Azadi to look like? And learn what a Gulami is now. So that's basically the Azadism project. Yeah, congratulations to Sikh Youth UK for the 10 years. And again, appreciate the platform they're giving me here. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Sri Waheguru ji ki fateh.
Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh. Thank you all to the speakers who have come and all the different organisations in Jathebandiya. We really appreciate it, and all the families and Sangat who have turned up, come through today, yesterday. Please do attend the talk tomorrow for the 10th annual Sri Akhand Paath Sahib, 10 years. Each and every year we do an Akhand Paath, we Naujawan come, we do different activities. Some days we have workshops, camps and stuff like that. So thank you all. If you didn't see the documentary at the beginning, let us know. Go on our YouTube, you can see it. We put it out. Any help in the community, we're always here. Like we started with the grooming, that's our main umbrella for the Sikh Youth UK. That's the main issue that affects us. Some of the guys were talking about the Shaheed Singhs and the Karkuls. They stood up for T-Bandis, so they gave their lives for that. They were tortured for that. There's other Sevadars here who were speaking earlier. Indi Singh was speaking about some of the issues that affect and how important it is for our future mothers to be speaking Sikhi and bringing up our kids, learning about Itihas. So it's so important. Our focus, if we're losing our daughters to predators and perpetrators and gangs, then we're losing as a next generation. And we need to understand these issues and start addressing them, just like our previous Sevadars have continued to do, and so have we. And others need to come again and get involved as well. I definitely agree, and what it comes down to is what Jagjit Singh and Cam and Bhavinder Singh were saying earlier. Start getting involved and do what you can within your capacity. So, yeah, thank you for your input, everyone. Any final questions before we wrap up? Is getting on. We've been here for 2.5 hours now, so if we could finalise it and wrap up. Thank you, guys, everyone who attended the Sikh Youth Conference, and thank you to Sikh Channel for covering it. We really appreciate it. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh.